My call sign is Bulat, and I've been in the zone for more than a year now. During this time, I've become my own friend, enemy, and gravedigger. You might guess there's not much that can surprise me anymore, but sometimes things happen that defy explanation. It happened in the north of the zone, near the abandoned station, Southern. I understand your confusion. I myself was puzzled at first. Why is a station in the north called Southern? But it got its name back in the USSR, and back then, it was in the south relative to the central hub. I was searching for traces of an old expedition. Legends say one of the stalkers carried a rare artifact and might have died in battle nearby. Rain was pouring like a curtain, and the sky darkened. The Geiger counter ticked in a rhythm of death. I was just about to head back when I heard something. First, a growl, angry, snarling, then whimpering. It was a dog, but not an ordinary one. Looks like the dog had gotten a serious dose of radiation somewhere deep in the zone, thin, covered in wounds. He was sitting under a collapsed canopy, staring straight at me. But his gaze wasn't like that of an animal. There was something unknown in those eyes, something almost human. Sorrow, pain, and understanding. It felt like the dog could read my thoughts, completely aware of the situation I was in. I don't even know why I didn't leave him there. Maybe because our fates were alike, just as torn, lonely, and alien. I pulled out a few sausages and tossed them to him. He approached cautiously, tail tucked. Ate, but didn't leave. I called him John. That was the call sign of a stalker who died not far from this place. Since then, he followed me wherever I went, warned me of danger, howled when we neared anomalies. Once, John even saved me from a bloodsucker. When the beast pounced and knocked me down, the dog sank his teeth into its throat, and I, wounded, crawled to shelter. I learned to trust him more than people. But, over time, I began to notice strange things. John stared at me longer than necessary. Not with curiosity, with reproach. I felt his gaze, and I'd never confuse it with anything else. The dog seemed to see right through me. Sometimes, before I even made a decision, he had already reacted. When I hesitated, he already knew what I would do, as if he read my mind. One morning I woke up in camp and saw him sitting across from me, unblinking. And then it hit me. Those eyes, I recognized them. The only problem, I couldn't remember exactly who they belonged to. With that thought, I tried to sleep again, but then I had a strange dream. I was walking through the marshes with a group and stumbled upon a barely alive, unknown stalker. Without thinking much, I took his artifact and his patch as a souvenir. The patch said, John. Suddenly, I woke up, soaked in sweat, shaken. I remembered where I had seen it. A few months ago, at the Southern Radar, we ran into a lone stalker. He was limping, wheezing, begging for help, but he had a rare gravy on him, and I was hungry for a payday. I fired into his back, took the artifact, buried him in the rotten reeds. He was red-haired, with a narrow face and piercing gray eyes, and on his suit there was a patch. John. I still had it as a keepsake. Now those eyes were staring at me from the dog's face. Coming to my senses a bit, I thought, paranoia, hallucinations, but every day my suspicions only grew stronger. John's face began to change. The lines stretched. His lips curled into something like a smile. He started standing on his hind legs longer than he used to. Sometimes I heard him whispering in his sleep, incomplete words, almost murmurs. One night I woke up and saw him above me. He sat silently. On my chest lay the same artifact, Gravi, my cursed trophy, and then a voice rang out, "Remember me, you said nothing personal." It was his voice, the voice of that same stalker. I jumped up and ran as fast as I could. My legs carried me like they were powered by a jet engine. I ran until my lungs burned, left everything behind, backpack, weapon, food, even the map. ran until the fog swallowed everything around me. I collapsed, and when I opened my eyes, he was there. But it was no longer a dog, it was an entity, with a body that pulsed between shapes. Pseudo-dog, werewolf, man, mutant, and the eyes, always those eyes. The zone never forgets, and those who take must return. After that, I lost consciousness again. I woke up in the doctor's bunker. He said stalkers had dragged me in, found me near an old anomaly crater. "Looks like you took a serious dose of radiation, son," said the doctor. I just silently nodded, unable to speak. I don't remember how I ended up in that anomaly. Everything was blurred, like memories from someone else's dream. But there was a mark on my jacket, a bloody paw print, and the artifact I got rid of, it was in my pocket again. I no longer carry weapons, never go beyond the perimeter, sleep with the lights on. But sometimes, I hear whimpering behind the door, and I know he's near, because the zone never forgets. And if you've killed someone, prepare to meet them again, maybe in the face of an enemy, maybe a friend, or maybe in the eyes of the dog you once tamed.